Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the month of love and we're going to be sharing, couple stories to encourage us and bring us hope. And this story right here is one you need to listen to. Keep watching. Alright, today we have the lovely Mr. and Mrs. Kananura. Welcome to the channel. I'm so honored that you accepted my invitation.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so introduce yourself, let them know who you are, how long you've been married. Let's get into the gist of this love story.
Right. Thank you for having us, Lisa.
Yeah.
We are honored. We are humble.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So our title has recently changed. Our titles have recently changed. We are pastors, Cathy and Ray Kananura now.
Yeah.
We have been recently ordained as campus pastors for the Mavuno 360 campus in Muyenga. Mavuno is a global movement of churches, and in Uganda we have a presence of 5 campuses.
Okay.
But in our other life, we are serial entrepreneurs. We are tweiya.
That's a good thing. I may bring you back to talk about business because, hey, wow.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
Because we've been in the trenches for a while. We are involved in many areas: business, hospitality, real estate, many different things, including mining and things like that. So that's how we keep ourselves busy. But what gives us joy is doing the work of God.
Yeah.
And our particular calling, we've come to learn, is in the marriage space.
Yeah.
Because we made so many mistakes early on, and we've learned so much that we feel called to just share our story with anybody who will listen.
Yeah.
Because maybe you'll hear a sentence that you can apply to your own lives. So we do that all the time.
Yeah. So maybe I can just add that we are married 13 years this September, and we've got 3 children: Kamanzi, who's 12, Abasa, who's 9, and Katunji, who's 5.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And several spiritual children.
Yeah, amazing, beautiful. That's
Yeah.
so nice to hear. So when you're talking about 13 years, I want to be like you guys when I grow up. 13 years, just let's walk backwards, How did you guys meet? Tell us more about the journey.
The story varies depending on who you speak to.
Yeah, let's see your
let me give my version.
All right.
So we actually first laid eyes on each other at my girlfriend's birthday party.
Wow.
Side eye.
Side eye.
I like to tell it like that.
Yeah.
To keep it real.
Real.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, but that's when we actually first met. But many months later, we met in a working kind of environment.
Yeah.
She was a debt collector for Vision Group. So she had come to Kubanja, my client, to whom I was selling cars. I also sell cars.
Yeah.
And we're doing a car deal, and she happened to be somewhere around and smiling.
You're like,
I know that Kachik. And so I tried to get her number then. She ran away. She literally ran away.
Hey.
Yeah. And then, so I stalked her on Facebook. She still refused to give me her number, so I had to vibe her on Facebook. I had to go old school.
Wow.
So I vibed her on Facebook for 7 months, I think.
Yeah.
And eventually, she gave me her number. When I had the number, she could not survive.
Now you had her.
Yeah.
Did you hear those online stories we met on Facebook, on Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
What's your version?
No, I agree. I agree to all the above.
Yeah.
The only difference might be that, like you can imagine, we've had to have this conversation in different spaces. Our daughter said to us, I thought it was going to be difficult for me to explain that I went as my friend's invite to to her partner's party that he had thrown for her. And many years later, 2 years later, about, we started dating.
Together. Yeah.
She said, "Oh, I'm thankful for that friend.
No.
I'd not be here if it were not."
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Our partners come in different places,
different
even through
ways.
other people.
Yeah.
Okay, so why were you running away, like you were saying?
So, like I had said, he'd been my friend's boyfriend. Also, I refer to myself as melancholic. I do things a certain way.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the space or looking for, for engagement, conversation engagement. So it didn't feel like the right time. But also he was very insistent and persistent.
Yeah, he knew what he wanted.
Like any Muchiga.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think that much would come out of it, and that's why I kept him at a distance. Also, mostly because I needed to have the conversation with my friend first.
Oh yes, okay.
Before our first date was a movie at the cinema. So before that, I needed to have certain conversations before we could accept it.
That's really nice. Okay, so Ray, how did you know she was the one? We keep asking these questions. How do I know? People out there. So how did you know?
How can this be your first question?
Yeah, how did you know?
I don't even know how I knew. That's the truth. I always tease her. And like I said, I say it like it is. It was one of those dates. She was walking away. I said, that's the one.
That's the one.
Figure from that what you will. But I had been through a series of, how do we put it? Those it's complicated type situations.
Yeah.
I've been through quite a few of those and fairly public ones. And I had sort of given up on dating and women and all that stuff. I decided a young man in the business world, and we focus on just making money.
Yeah.
Because you get some bad advice from some of our elders out there. Kola sente, wakazi. So I had kind of taken that advice and I was saying, let me make money, they will flock to me.
They will come.
And I don't know how successful that was. So how I knew she was the one was basically the fact that we sort of, although we were from fairly different backgrounds, we seemed to have a sort of an affinity to each other.
Yeah.
She seemed to get me, I seemed to get her. And she fell easily into the cracks of my life. So I had a very, very busy social life. And she, like you can see, she still is a bit retiring and a bit shy, but she still would make the effort to be out as far as she could.
Yeah.
I think she could only really last till like
To
midnight.
Yeah.
But still she made the effort. And I would cover the other shift for her till 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so, but it's the grace with which she did that. Because most people, if they don't do things the way you do, they'll try and change you. And they'll be like a hard grating. So I don't feel like maybe it was a trick. Were you
Cathy, tell us why did you accept? Yeah. How did you know that maybe this is the one?
Yeah. So he did things traditionally. He asked me out. That's the word we use.
Yeah.
But we had a critical conversation. Many times, the different partnerships I had before, people sort of stumbled into
it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not clear.
Yeah,
It's
it's not clear, and you're like, what do you hope to achieve from this? What's your plan?
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with him, and I asked him what he wanted.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to get married. So I liked that. He could even say those words.
Yeah.
But I always say that on the very first time, so after we went to the cinema, let's roll back. When he came to the cinema, he came a little later than me. I had come a little earlier on purpose and bought my own ticket, so he knows that I am not here
for anything else,
for
like
any
money,
other
what?
reason.
Yeah.
It was important to me that he knows that,
Oh, wow.
because he was in business. He is the life of the party, and you know, he'd had different relationships that I knew about. So I wanted him to know that if I was with him, it was for no other reason but for being with him.
Okay.
And I wanted him to know that family. So the next time he asked me on a date, we went to a restaurant near our home, near my parents' home. And he asked if he could come for me. He said, "I don't want you to drive, I want to come for you."
Oh.
And when he did so, he is still in the car business. He had the option to come for me in a fancy car, you know, one that wasn't his. And this was sort of the things I sort of was looking at him like side-eyeing him. Yeah. So, but he, at that point, the car he owned, his personal one, was a Toyota Chikumi, a premium.
Oh, yes.
They kept it really neat and tidy, but it was his car. And he came for me in his car. I liked that.
Ladies, are you hearing?
And then when he did, he came to our home. I think he came in. He came in. My mom, and, you know, greeted my mom. My dad wasn't there, and took me to dinner. And while he was at dinner, he received a call from one of his siblings. And when he picked it up, he spoke in his mother tongue. So was raised in the UK, and for me, it said, this guy is grounded. It doesn't matter where he's been. It doesn't matter, you know, what he's been through.
He knows his roots.
He knows his roots. It's important to him. Family is important to him. So it was a combination of things, and he was and is still very good looking. Easy on the eye.
Amazing. Beautiful. So you saw a humble man.
Yeah,
grounded,
I did.
You know,
I did.
Man. Okay. So when you're looking back, you know, now you're pastors. I just want to ask, was he born again? Were you guys born again, or was that a conversation?
We like to refer to that season of our lives as BC, before Christ.
Busy before Christ.
BC.
BC. Oh, before Christ.
Before Christ.
I didn't get it. No, I get it.
You're catching on. You're catching on.
I've got it. Oh, okay.
That's called Christianese.
Okay. Right. Okay, so you're not born again.
No.
Okay, so now, I know maybe fast forward, you get married. How long did that take? And, you know, as you start marriage, is it what you expected?
Okay. Yes, so things were very slow at the beginning, as I said, and then they sped up like you would not believe.
Yeah.
Like I told you, she was trying to run away from me. So she successfully ran away to the UAE. She got a job with Emirates. She did well. She beat like 100 girls to become
amazing.
To get that job.
Yeah.
I was not happy about that.
You're like, now you're living.
Yeah, where are you living? And I was getting ready. I had been doing my push-ups. I'd been going online, seeing whether I could afford the engagement rings. Then she left. But as chance would have it, somewhere there, in that mix there, she got pregnant.
Okay.
So we very quickly, like she said, wild as I was always traditional. So when that news came, I was like, because she was supposed to go away for a year and a half. And I thought maybe when she comes back, that's when we'll do the thing. So in my mind, I was like, now we have to move to marriage really quickly because, that
it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
Felt, yeah.
We can't be having a kid out of wedlock. So now all of the romance of a surprise engagement, of course, had evaporated. So we had to have conversations about how we do this thing, how we get married, because I think we now were a month in, and so we basically had 8 months to plan.
To go. Yeah.
So we kind of it moved really fast.
Yeah.
Moved really fast, and then I still had to propose.
Yeah, of
and
course.
you can imagine, although we've talked about it, I tried 3 times and failed.
To surprise her?
Yeah, to just get the courage to ask her to marry me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why do men fear that moment?
I think the reality hits you. That this is it. As in, there will not be any other chicks. This is it.
Oh, the commitment.
The commitment.
Okay.
It felt heavy. I tried a couple of times, took her on really fancy dates, even to a restaurant that goes around.
Revolving, eh?
It jammed.
Yeah.
A jam, and so it ended up happening in my flat in Bukoto at 11 in the night.
You know what?
Very fumbled, very, very unromantic. I don't think she's ever forgiven me for that.
I want a redo.
15 years.
Yes, thanks. And yeah, you have to contribute.
Michelle.
So it went really fast from there. Planning a wedding, going for antenatal classes, going for doing a Kwanjula in her case, and getting married, moving house, having a baby.
Yeah.
All of that happened between March 2011. March 2011 and September, because we got married in September of 2011. So between March and September, all those things happened, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
So we sort of crashed into it, and at that time, I was starting probably one of the better known businesses that I'm known for.
Which one is that?
Which is Panamera Bar. And so it was taxing, shall we say.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very, very, very
Well
late
put.
nights. Very late nights or early mornings.
Yeah.
And I'd spend most of the daytime tired and asleep. But also there was a whole lifestyle to running a bar that didn't quite work for a young bride, a young mother. And so the tension just exploded at that time. So our beautiful daughter, if you saw her now, you'd not realize that she used to sleep for an hour, wake for 2. And then at that time, I think she had colic or something.
I know that drill.
So she would cry. She would cry, and I'd be coming home at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I would hear her from the main road cry.
Yeah.
And so the interesting part is you get home and you find the mother also crying.
Of course, it's hard.
And I'd ask questions like, why are you crying?
That's a wrong question to ask.
At that time, there's no wrong question to ask. So it was a very tense time. It was a very tense time. So the early part of our marriage was characterized by that way of life for me, and for her, I think maybe she'll speak for herself. She, of course, had taken a maternity leave from her job at Vision Group, and so maybe being at home with a baby in this new situation, it was a lot of pressure for her. So home wasn't very warm for me.
Yeah.
And the bar was very, very warm for me.
Yeah.
There was lots of
fun,
life, lights, distractions, and people to help you with your situation.
You're going to tell us more about that. What exactly are you talking about?
Maybe I'll just add that at that point, I was not at work in Vision Group. When I was in Dubai, I asked him if you. So one of the reasons I took the job in Dubai was that there were certain female friends that he'd kept, and a few of them he had intersected with. the
Entanglements.
Entanglements. And they stayed on as friends. And when we had those conversations, he said to me, no, we're just friends now. And for me, it was confusing because, like I said, I later found out that I am melancholic. Black is black, white is white. There's no gray
areas.
Yeah. So it was I didn't understand it. It was confusing for me, and for me, it didn't say that we were serious about what we were doing. So I didn't see why I needed to hold out on an opportunity. Work at Vision Group was great, but I wanted to do something different, and I filled out an application. I was half serious, and I got and I got a job, and I called him and I said, oh, by the way, this is happening. So when I was in Dubai, I asked him if he'd consider moving to Dubai, because I thought it would be better for us, for our relationship, if we were out of Kampala and the party scene. And
so you felt like him leaving would make things better?
Yeah, would it? I wondered. But I thought that maybe if we took ourselves out of the system, it could work. Then he said to me, no, I'm not coming to the desert. And I'm going to wait for you for 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And I said to myself, okay, well, we'll try the 1 year. If it works, great. Then it was meant to work. If it doesn't, then, then it wasn't meant to work. And that's okay. But like he said, in the middle there, I found out that we were expecting. When I told him, he said, then we need to make this right really quickly, because I don't want our child to grow up any other way, but with the two of us in the same home.
So you left Dubai?
Yeah, so I had several HR conversations, and there were ones that basically said it's too early for us to give you time, or for you to figure this.
You've just started.
Yeah, so it wasn't going to work any other way, save for me to leave. Which I did. Came back and told my parents. And we started making plans to get married. My parents, my dad in particular, asked that. I guess both of them, because I remember there were two different conversations. They said, one of them said to me, make sure you're getting married for no other reason except for the fact that you love each other. And not for a child, not for any other reason. And I was sure we were getting married for no other reason except for the fact that we loved each other and wanted to be together. So that's what happened with that. We got married. The beginning was tough. At that point, when I was in Dubai, he'd not started Panamera, the business. He was running a company with a friend at that point that was called Spin Communications, which was doing advertising, outdoor advertising and so on. That company is still there, and I'm the one who runs the business. That's the one thing that I do. Spin wasn't able to look after us as a family. It was a baby business and required
a lot. I understand.
And it wasn't looking after us at all for several months. Now, Panamera was birthed at a time when we'd lost our home. We moved to a nice home when we had our baby and paid the 6 months rent. And when that was over, we could not pay the next one. And I remember the landlord coming with people to view the house with our staff.
Still in there.
Yeah, in there. And the people saying, oh, I like that dining table. I like those curtains. Can I keep those? He wasn't there. I was at home with my baby, holding her, and just, you know, not knowing my rights as young as 25 then. You know, walking around, you know, just sort of walking around on the side with my baby.
With your baby like, oh,
yeah,
man.
like, yeah, like, oh, well, no.
Yeah.
Just, you know, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what was not okay for people to do, or even how to say to them that you know, we lost our home and moved into a house. We were homeless and moved
where did you go?
So we were made homeless. Fortunately, there was a family property that we could utilize between when it was being sold and when the owner took it up, and so we sort of we had to go there to reset.
Yeah.
And like Cathy said, at that point, the bar business was picking up. It became very, very popular. Like I had touched on before, a bit too popular.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, we sort of found our footing. We could, you know, we had a modest income which was working, but of course the social demands had become a bit of a strain at this point. Cathy and I weren't quite seeing eye to eye anymore because of my night activities, and then while we were still trying to figure that out, Calamity struck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that calamity?
There was a murder at Panamera, and that's well documented in the media. And it when they talk about 0 to 100 real quick.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yes. It very quickly, within a day actually, went from a terrible calamity happening at your property to being accused of murder. And so the situation it is a surreal situation.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, it's not really happening. It can't be happening.
Yeah.
I think Cathy tells the story best that you know, we were both in bed when we got called. Actually, because of the fact that I would come home at like 5, 6 in the morning, I'd switch my phone off.
So that you can rest.
Yes. So they called her phone to tell her.
Yeah, it was me they called. And then I woke him up and told him there's been a situation at Panamera. And then he got up and went to the property. So yes, 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. And so it went from, you know, trying to resolve what had happened. And so you get called to the station to make a statement, and you think you're giving a witness statement. Kumbe. They are pretty much taking you.
Yeah.
And so it turned out that there's always been a conflict on the land on which that bar is. And it turned out that there were different interests at play at this point.
Yeah.
And so when they caught wind of the fact that this thing had happened, so people started to invest money in making sure that the accusation lands squarely, mostly on my brother, who is a larger than life character. But unfortunately, me being his partner got swept up.
Okay.
We all got swept up in the whole whirlwind. It got very ugly very quickly, and literally changed our lives forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we even get into that, I'm just looking at Cathy. You've married, you said yes to this man.
Yeah.
Before anything, you're losing a home. He's coming back late. You're not meeting eye to eye. And now, you're just like, please, what kept you there? You know,
What?
They'll be like, you know what? This is enough.
Yeah.
Why were you still there, and why were you still, married to him?
So like I said, I was the one who woke him up to go to the property. Many times people would call me and say, hi, Cathy, like not sure where I am. You know, checking on me, just really caring, checking on me. And I'd be upbeat because because for me, it was all going on. Eventually, he got arrested, held at Canary Road police station, and then eventually he was sent on murder charge to Luzira maximum, is that what it's called?
Maximum security.
Yeah. So for me, I knew that I knew he'd not killed this man. I was told that, well, unfortunately, he's collateral in this situation. Maybe I was naive. I don't know. I always knew that we'd have an opportunity for us to tell our story. It never really came, but you know, now I'm older and wiser.
Yeah.
But yeah, why did I stay? I knew there was something I knew that you know the media didn't know. But I also knew that in there was a good man. He went into the bar business. It's not what I'd have liked for him.
Yeah.
But he always said, even if I have to sell tomatoes to look after you, I will do it. You know, so there were things about him that I knew.
Yeah.
So, because as a new mom and a young and you know, we'd not been married too long, there was a suggestion that I should go live with my sister-in-law or maybe my parents, just so I'm not home alone.
When he was away.
Yeah, when he was in prison, just so there's somebody helping with the baby, or you know, it was very well intended. And so my mom used to come to childmind while I went to do the different things we needed to do at that time. You know, see lawyers, go to Luzira to see him, you know, see different people. But my mom said to me, whatever happens, Catherine, do not move out of your home. It is important for your husband, wherever he is, to know that his home is intact. It helps with him, with his mind, to know that, you know, sink or swim, you're still going to be here.
Really, is that true? Does that make sense? Like for her to be home when she's alone, like it just gives you that peace of mind that.
It was a bit of a catch-22.
Yeah.
Yes, it was comforting, but I was more concerned about her safety.
Yeah.
I was more concerned about just provision for my child. Needless to say, there were no like savings or anything to say that she's covered. So even where money was coming from, it was that base, the concern. So for me as a man, I was worried about money and how, you know, how she's being looked after or how she's looking after herself. Safety was a very big concern for me. And there were some of my girlfriends who would call me.
Girlfriends?
My girlfriends.
Girlfriends.
Yes. Quote unquote, who would call to check on her.
When you're away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but those are real things.
Yeah,
And when you're in a situation of being incarcerated, paranoia just shoots through the roof.
That's true.
So anything is possible.
Yeah.
The worst is always possible because you've seen, and in my case, I had seen the worst of humanity. I had seen betrayal like I had never imagined. You know, I realized at that point that maybe my life was a bit sheltered.
Yeah.
I used to see everyone around me, and like she said, life of a party. I actually thought these were my friends. And Twitter let me know that they were not. You know?
But I actually liked that about him. I liked that he saw everyone as his friend, like childlike simplicity. There's no hardness in his heart. It was one of the things that I absolutely loved about him. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's it.
Yeah, so I just want to touch a little because you mentioned that you were the life of the party. What did that involve and how it affected the marriage? Like, what does that even mean?
That's a good question. It means first of all, providing the lubrication for the party. So you had to buy the drinks. Yeah. Meant a lot of dancing. I loved dancing. It meant just being there, because it felt, and I say it felt because I think it's an illusion. It felt like the business made more money when I was there. You got given that impression by the revelers. And of course you had to do what they call customer care and drop people at the end of the night.
Yeah, but before that, Lisa, it was something I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Because of my personality, I couldn't understand how when you're in a circle, you're the one in the middle dancing, and you're the one who's
like, what?
And you sort of gesturing to other people to come, and the competition, the life of the party, literally. Like when he'd get in, and I am here, I have arrived.
Wow.
Let us get
started. And
yeah.
I just want to know, was there infidelity in all this?
Yeah, there was. There was. So when I say drop customer care, yeah, so there's lots of destitute young ladies who need dropping at the end of the night, and so to varying extents, you find yourself in situations you shouldn't.
Amazing situation.
Yeah.
Would you tell Cathy, or would you let it slide?
How do you tell? Exactly. How do you have that conversation?
Yeah, Cathy, did you know, and how did that?
No, I didn't. Much later, we would do a program where at the end of it, there's something called disclosure.
Yeah.
Even then, it was not, even when we did that program, he was not brave enough to say it.
Yeah.
He sort of gave me the outside of the conversation, and then later on, as I think he needed to get it off his chest, or he needed to live. I think he needed to live. He wanted to live as honestly as he could, Yeah, and he told me at different times, in the middle of the night, and random days. Yeah.
Wow. And I just want to, as I hear these stories, you really said you were before Christ.
Yeah.
At what point did you now find Christ, and how did your life change? Because I'm just wondering, if I own a bar, how does that even work if you receive Christ? How does that work?
So,
where was the turning point?
So when he ran the bar, he'd drink quite a bit. That when he says he was tired, that's what he means. He was
I thought you got it.
No.
I thought you got it. It seems you've never.
Hard. No, it's like after a shoot, I'm so tired, I need to rest.
No.
Well,
That's what.
kind of like that.
No, but different.
Okay.
No, so he was drinking every day of the week, except for Monday, I think.
And apart from Sunday.
Sunday. So every day of the week.
Wow.
Every night.
Every night.
Yeah.
Save for Sunday.
Yeah. So after the case and being imprisoned, and like I said, all of the things that were happening, and the realization of the betrayal and all of the things that were happening. The drinking went from recreational very quickly to habitual.
Yeah.
And I stopped drinking to have fun,
Yeah.
and I just started drinking to numb something.
Yeah.
And it got bad.
Yeah.
So when she says I drink every day, I'd start like at lunchtime.
Wow.
I got to a point where I couldn't really face people sober. I couldn't do something like this sober at that point, because there were so many things going on within me, mostly anger. And so drinking became a bit of a refuge. It was my way of not exploding. And so and so basically, I developed a drinking problem, and it escalated, and culminated in me having to go to rehab.
Oh.
Yeah.
So basically, it got to a point where, actually, for those who remember, the night of the Neo concert in 2015, when Neo last came to Uganda. So that day, I think I drank from like 10 in the morning.
What?
All tribes of alcohol.
What?
Yeah. I literally drank almost everything there was on the counter that day at different phases and with different groups of people. In the end, it just ended up being a calamitous night.
Yeah.
And so much happened that some of it just broke her heart.
Yeah.
And so she got to a point, she said, I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said, I've tried, I have to go. And so I begged her not to go. I said, let's try one more thing. And I said, let me go and get help.
Yeah.
But she was still like, that's fine for you.
Me as
but me as me,
Yeah.
I can't be
Yeah.
anywhere near you. I was like, don't leave your home. Let me be the one to go.
Yeah.
So I went back home. My village is London, by the way.
Oh. Wow, these amazing villages.
Yeah, right. So no, because my mom lives in the UK, and there's government programs, free programs for rehabilitation, and also I needed some anonymity. I needed some.
Yeah, just
I needed
privacy.
some privacy, distance from the whole situation. So I think it was probably a God-led thing at that time. In that moment, I just decided, let me go. First of all, just be with my mom, and also get help.
Yeah.
I had no money for the ticket, so I borrowed money for the ticket, and that very night I was on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The blessing is that his mom is clergy. And when he went to the UK, he eventually had to tell her why he was there. And then she began to talk to him about, because backstory, he'd been a Christian until about 21.
Yes,
Yeah?
from my 21st birthday.
Yeah, he had his first drink.
Like, tonight is the night.
Yeah.
Breaking free.
Everything happened that night.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was my first drink. That's when I lost my virginity. That's when everything happened.
Wow.
Wow. Was it bad influence? What was it?
You know what? I had been through my whole first year and part of my second year without giving into the pressure.
Yeah.
So I can't really blame other people. I think I had gotten the confidence now that I had enough distance from my mother to try things out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when the journey started.
Yeah.
With the mother.
Yeah, so yes, so she began to have very crucial conversations. Like he said, it was a government program in the UK. They assess whether you are a danger to your family. I imagine if I had been there, they'd have kept him in. Yeah, but because I wasn't, they'd let him, so he'd stay at the facility and go home in the evening. And you know, the times when we've been with her, if you know her, when you get on, she says, oh, okay, bring the hymn book, bring the Bible, let's sit
pray,
down. And then, so she began to have very important conversations with him that in that time changed, over those weeks, changed something in him. And the thing that I remember is he came home with, as I was unpacking, I found a letter she wrote him, just asking him to release certain things, that it was time, that if he missed this opportunity, he'd have missed it. I think that letter was pivotal.
Yes, that's something to do with it. Yeah. So my dad was an alcoholic as well. So that in that period there was the psychological rehabilitation, but there was also a spiritual rehabilitation.
Yeah.
But underneath all that, there was just like a deliverance. Just I think her bringing it home that the reason we have been through all the things we've been through is because your father prioritized alcohol over you guys. And that's why whatever you feel has gone wrong in your life has a lot to do with that. So this can't be your story. So that was sobering, literally. Yeah. So if there is a moment we can say where things started to shift, it was in that moment. We had just started getting involved with this marriage experience that we keep talking about, Ndoa. So Ndoa now just took it to another level. Now we started to understand each other, because the Ndoa experience starts off with a bang, with you sort of doing like a personality test, understanding what your personality is, choleric, sanguine, you know, the whole thing, and understanding your strengths, but most importantly, your weaknesses and how they impact your partner. Like after that class, I was like, it's okay, my money is finished.
I understand.
You know, I understand what has been happening. Because basically, we come into marriage with all kinds of expectations. And we heap them onto our partner. And when they don't fulfill them, they're a bad person. And I need to go and find somebody who will.
Better.
So, and I realized in that moment that that's what we had been struggling with. And so the experience just rolls on, just revealing like an onion. Background, the roles and rituals that you are used to, how that impacts you, in-laws and outlaws, finances, and ultimately it goes to intimacy, and just understanding that intimacy is just not, it's not limited to physical intimacy. You know, there's like steps of intimacy that you have to go through for your physical intimacy to be what you imagined it to be. I'll just say this, that we these days we work with a lot of couples who tell you that that they sought partners outside their marriage because they were not being fulfilled in their marriage, either physically or emotionally or whatever. And it's just a lie the world tells us, that you know, if this person isn't giving you what you want, look for another person.
Somewhere else.
And yet really what the Ndoa mantra is that work on me, pray for them. Okay? And if we're both doing that, it's like Cathy says, it's a self resolving equation. If we're both praying for each other and both working on ourselves, there's no way we can fail. And so we sort of started to understand that even though maybe you might give yourself the excuse that you're looking for physical intimacy with other people because maybe you're not getting it at home, you find that you can't have physical intimacy, the physical intimacy you hope for or imagined before marriage, because your financial intimacy is not right, your spiritual intimacy is not right, social intimacy is not right, and as in you're literally living separate lives, but you still expect to come home to this person and manage to share your souls, you know, and that just can't happen. You can't. It's not like turning on the engine of a car.
Just
push a button and it works. So one of the key things that really released us into this new understanding of each other was knowing that things like intimacy don't stand alone, like physical intimacy don't stand alone. There's other levels we have to build towards it. And even before that, we need to understand ourselves. We need to communicate better. We need to fight fair. And the assumption with fighting fair is that there has to be fights. You know?
Fighting has to happen.
It has to happen.
Fight properly.
There's just ways to fight.
And
understanding like there are types of fighters. Like she's a runner, I'm a fighter. I'm a big gorilla fighter. You know? Because I'm a choleric temperament. I'm a Muchiga. I'm a man.
Fire on fire.
So actually, one of the things that frustrated her the most when I was drinking is that I would come home at 5 in the morning and decide that there are conversations we have to have now. Even though you've been up feeding the baby all night, now.
So Cathy, we've heard the story. I'm just like, if I were in your shoes, I don't know, you know, and there may be so many women out there who are going through horrible things out there, like the marriage is going from worse to worse to you know, what would you tell them, knowing what you know now? Is it in dating before? Is it in choosing? Is it in the marriage in itself? What would you tell them?
Yeah. No, it's at different points. These days, we always, sort of joke about this, and when someone comes to us and says, "Oh, I want to get married," partly because we are pastors, we ask, "Are they Christian?"
Yeah.
Because we've understood that when you're both given to Christ, it's a whole different ballgame.
It's an issue of what they call being equally yoked.
Yes.
And it has layers to it. Really what we challenge young people to do a lot these days is to have crucial conversations. At the stage of dating, or maybe even when you're in the marriage itself.
Yeah.
But of course, when we're dating, we're all marketing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Putting our best foot forward.
Yeah.
Best foot forward. It has to the window dressing has to be perfect.
Yeah.
But we try and push people to sort of break through that glass and try and peek behind the curtain. Instead of spending so much time watching Netflix together, you could actually face each other and talk. And just ask simple questions. Where did your mother grow up?
Yeah.
Was she raised by both parents? It just starts to release a few little bits of information. Sometimes white flags, sometimes red flags. And you discover so much by just asking the simple questions. Where was your mother raised at? Was it a single parent home? Was it a broken home? What did she see? Basically, if you know what their mother saw growing up or their father saw growing up, it's very likely that that's what they did in their marriage.
The other one is things like, what are your thoughts on work? Because there's people who get married or end up getting married, and one expects that we are both going to work, or that the other one's going to stay home and the other is going to work. So we call them crucial conversations, things like money, and just understanding the question the thing he's talking about when he says what was family like for you, is just figuring out things like leadership in the home and submission, the very, just understanding what your values are. Are they the same? Can we sort of map out our life, what we'd dream for it to be? Ultimately, God takes the eraser and fills them in. But for what we call the blueprint, for you guys to have a similar blueprint. Yeah,
because essentially marriage, you have to look at it as a house. Okay? And if you both what tends to happen is that we all come with our own blueprint, own design, our own idea, our own expectation. Then you come and you try and superimpose it on this person. Exactly. And that house just will never work. The walls will be crossing and it will ultimately crumble. And so there is a place. There's a place for understanding, and that's the one. Whenever we hear criticism about the Ndoa experience, it's that you guys, you broke up a couple. There's a couple who was our friends, and you broke them up. And for the questers, as we call them, the ones who are looking to get married, that's not a bad outcome.
It's a good thing.
It's
better a broken engagement
than a failed marriage. And so we seek for you to go into marriage with a clear idea of the person you're getting married to. And if you don't know the questions to ask, we will encourage you. We will advise and guide you on the questions you need to ask. But we like we say, we push so hard for people to say the time you spend partying, traveling, and so on, use that time to actually talk to each other, because we realize that people no longer face each other. They're either looking down on their phones, or at a screen, or something else is distracting them. People just don't look at each other anymore. Look at each other in the eye, and say, this car you're driving, let's see the logbook. Whose is it? If you're willing to expose yourselves to each other? Why can't you expose your finances?
Everything.
Expose everything. Finances, family background, and just simple things like, is there another person in your life? Is there a child that you've already had? What's your future like? If you're doing studies, where do you want to go with them?
Do you want to have children?
At all.
Yeah.
That's amazing to know. And we're just seeing that, especially Ray, what people would call a red flag then. Red flag, So
all red flags.
All red flags. So what message would you give to men out there in just understanding prioritizing what's important in life? Because there's so many people who get married and want to be married bachelors. You're married but you want to continue doing the same things you used to do. So what would you like to say to them?
That's a whole different show.
Summarize, key points.
I can only speak for myself and maybe some of my friends. And I'd say, I think it boils down to a phrase, wait it easy. And that's a Luganda phrase for get your house in order. It's a case of we are socialized to just lie about everything. And I'm always lamenting to Cathy that especially those years, those character building years, I call them, in secondary school where you are boarding, your parents aren't speaking into your life. It is your peers that are speaking into your life. So many bad habits are picked up. What we're looking for in women, or what we have been taught by our peers, especially in those teenage years, is first of all, you're not obliged to sleep with the entire world. There is nothing to gain from it. Literally, there's nothing to gain from it. And so our idea of how we relate to the opposite sex is so warped. Our society is hypersexualized, even the girls themselves. From around 13, 14, there's a thing that is imparted upon them that your sexuality is something that you can trade. And so the men have also had the counter education that you can manipulate that currency that she's using. And so offer her something that she wants. Offer her an iPhone, and
she'll give you what you
want. There's a joke, you can cut it out if you want. A friend of mine who was sitting in a car with a girl, and she was telling him, next time. And he was telling her, what you want, what I want, you have it with you. Even me, what you want, I have it with me. And so I think it characterizes the hypersexuality and how it has become a currency. So for me, I'm so passionate about young men understanding that there is a lot more to women. The Bible tells us that look at every woman, every young woman as your sister. Look at every older woman as your mother. And that's a scripture that most people flick past, But if you dig deep, it's saying respect women is what it's trying to say. It's saying imagine your own sister if everywhere she passes, other men are just saying what they can. They're sexualizing her. So the first part is that helps us to not make mistakes in choosing a life partner, from removing the sexual weight on the person, so that now you're choosing a person based on background, based on shared beliefs, based on a future that you can visualize together. Because most times you marry a girl because she has a big bum, but those bums have brought us so many problems. That she gets into the home and she's nothing like you visualize should be, because you are focused there on her past, and her future is not quite as bright as you think. Maybe she doesn't understand your financial literacy or how you want to do things. She doesn't cook luombo like your mother used to. She's not interested, in
making a home.
In making a home, just isn't. And because you're focused on the wrong thing. So, like I said, there's a whole show. There's so many things there. But ultimately, it's understanding that choosing a partner has to be a very deliberate process. And you have to sort of unlearn all that stuff of writing to a girl at Namagunga, a girl at Gayaza, a girl in Navisunsa. Which one is respond the fastest?
I'm not sure.
So things like that.
Yeah.
They sort of, they bedded in some ideas with us that are so hard to unlearn that they just carry on. That's why you see so much infidelity, because even at 50, you find men sitting around and comparing what their body count is.
Yeah.
And I can't even say each to their own, because that doesn't work. What we come to learn is that if you have a house, if you've built a house by yourself, you find yourself patching it up, renovating it every so often, caring for it, cleaning it. You don't let weeds grow in it. Yeah. So the idea is there, is the person that you choose, love the one that you're with.
Yeah.
Tend to her garden, and it will be the most beautiful thing. I think for us, after we went through all these learnings and so on, even our sex life just went to a completely new level, because we now understood each other so much better.
Yeah.
The first 3 years of our marriage were maybe characterized by us wondering, did we get married just because we were expecting a baby?
Yeah.
And that was like the punchline of every argument. When the argument stopped having logic, one of us just threw that grenade there, and it all went haywire.
Yeah.
But when we started to just unravel all that and understand each other better, we moved to a level of like physical, spiritual, financial intimacy that changed our lives. That now, instead of thinking that I need to go out and look for another Kayang chick, she's my Kayang chick.
Yeah.
Because I have deliberately cultivated those things in her.
You're working.
Rather than, it's not an externalized thing. I'm not thinking that whatever need that I've told myself I have to find it outside here. If I have a sexual need, I tell it to her.
Yeah.
And if she has the flexibility to fulfill it, she will.
Yeah.
Wow, Lisa. I'm not sure you're ready.
I get you. So,
it's a
yours is
forgettable
a story. When I hear you, I'm just thinking about Paul and Saul and Paul.
Yeah.
That transformation. And a friend of mine once told me something. Marriage is redeemable.
Yes.
Like, I'm just imagining everything that you went through, and now where you are now. And I shared a video on my Instagram. Well, just saying, for better, for worse, has been trivialized. And I'm not saying it's easy, but like right now, when worse comes, because you were saying for over 3 years, things were just terrible, you know.
Yes.
Right now, 1 year, and we are running.
Yes.
We are running, you know. So as we conclude, Cathy, this for better, for worse, you have really stamped it for me. I'm just like, not that you are perfect and everything, but I'm just hearing for better, for worse. What would you say to just girls now as we conclude, the ladies who are either seeking to get married or those already in marriage and maybe are struggling and facing this kind of challenge or even, you know, worse or whatever?
Yeah. Lisa, one of the times I took a break and went home to my parents' home. While I was there, we'd had our second child at that point.
For the sake of clear English, she left me.
Okay. We'd had our second child. I took a break. I did not leave him. At that point, I knew I needed...
You did divorce.
No, I didn't divorce. And even then, I said I need a break.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel healthy. I didn't feel, you know, I didn't feel like I was present. So I went home to my parents' home. While I was there, my daughter said, you know, she's really amazing. But then she was about 3 years. She said to me, "Mommy, I miss Daddy so much." And in that moment, I knew that we chose to have her. You know, God gave her to us. What I didn't say in the interview at the Emirates job is that I was advised to go home and take care of that situation. And we chose, the two of us said no. We are not taking care of any situation. And when she came, she was the most beautiful child in the world, and she was and is still such a blessing. And when she said to me she missed her father because you know, I've never seen a love so pure. I knew that everything else would be selfish of me. You know, besides him struggling, us struggling as a married couple, he was and is still an excellent father. You know, at that time, whatever time he came home, if he came home at 6, even in all of his confusion, he always drove her to school and always put her in the back seat and wanted her to be safe, you know. And even when he was drinking when she was a baby, when he came home, he held her and walked and sang for her. He has a much better singing voice than me. So there was certain things that would be absolutely selfish of me to choose to walk away from because of myself. And when we talk about the time when I actually said, this is it. I can't do this anymore. That last time, there's a way that I felt, and I felt like I could not go on anymore. I did not know what that looked like, but I knew that I had reached my breaking point. But like I said, it helps to raise children in the way of the Lord, because even when they are older, you know, they may veer off like he did, but there is a certain center. Deep down there, he was a very good man. Definitely, for me, knowing what I know now, my hope is truly 100% in the Lord. Yeah, with how you raise your children, with how you face each other, with how you pray for one another. There is nothing you can humanly do to change the posture of one another's hearts. Yeah.
I'll just describe some of the things maybe she wants to describe about herself. Is that there is a part of her that never gave up, or even in the moment where she said, "I'm leaving," it wasn't her walking away from me. It was her walking towards some type of peace. Yeah, because I was a chaotic character, and so what I would say that I've seen with her and the women who have inspired other women that I've seen is that they have prioritized good company, the fellowship of believers. We can't sidestep the fact that the big difference for us in our lives has been Christ. There is no way to sugarcoat that. Is that the game changer is introducing a third party into your marriage, the right third party, Christ. And because, like she said, I grew up in church, so I kind of knew what to do, but she didn't. And that when she gave her life to Christ, she was a less angry person. She was her responses to me were no longer really coming from a place of anger. She was starting to understand the heart of God and loving people. And so I'd say the things that I've seen change in Cathy's life were just Christ mostly. Patience, like what they call the fruits of the Spirit, just being a bit more patient, understanding that if I don't do things the way she wants, it's not the end of the world.
Also understanding that I was not a perfect person. When you know, as I began to understand, to go on my Christ journey, I began to see what my responses have been. How there's been how there'd been times I'd broken him, they'd stretched him, you know. And those are only things that you know, when you sit quietly and meditate on the word,
that's when God
reveals those things to you.
Very much so. And it's very easy, and I'll speak for the men, although you didn't ask us. Many times it's easy to paint men in the light of being the aggressors. And many times we are,
Yeah.
because we're given the gift of responsibility.
Yeah.
Heading a home, and that is handed to us because we don't really earn it. It's societal, and maybe other situations put you in that position of leadership, and we many times abuse it. But I think there needs to be a realization that with women that very many times, while this man doesn't understand his actual role as a leader, because he has not been given a good benchmark.
Yeah.
He's sort of fumbling about trying to understand it. I always tell people that we go out there into the world and it beats us up.
By the time we come back home,
Time we come back home, you don't know left
then
from
they also
right.
beat you.
Then you come home and they also beat you with
Give you-
expectations.
yeah,
You are not
yeah.
perfect. My friend's
Husband is
husband has finished their third house.
Yeah.
You're just there. Or my father used to take my mother, I don't know, on walks in the evening. Expectation upon expectation, and you don't realize that there's a part of what you're doing that is tapping into his insecurities and pushing him further.
Away.
And there is a place that a man goes to that you have to pray to God for him to be able to come back from. There is a place that many times societal, but most times the closest person to you, because we have learned that pain increases with proximity.
Yeah.
The closer the person is to you,
The more they'll hurt you.
the more they'll hurt you, even with just one word. You can come and fees is late for the child, and there's a valid reason. There might be other ways you can explain to him why it's late, like if you hadn't done that, it wouldn't be late. But for him, he's rationalized, and as a man, he has literally failed. His plans didn't go how he wanted.
Yeah.
And you say one word like
And
this,
you break his spirit.
and you break his spirit.
Yeah.
And there is a place in most men, once he goes in there, getting
hard.
him back is very hard to
Yeah.
get. It is almost impossible. So women, I think, could benefit from just listening to godly women and understanding where patience comes from, because the reality is that we are wired differently. We are socialized differently. It's not perfect, and we are all trying to just and this is partly what you do, and by the way, we love what you do. We're just trying to rewire, we're trying to change the narrative for both women and men, because we need to learn to just love our wives like Christ loved the church. And if you can understand what that is, giving your life for someone or something, selflessly just saying, you know what, I'm doing it all for you. I'm dying for you. If we can understand that as men, the narrative changes. Toxicity stops, abuse will stop, because we're willing to die. Equally, the women just need to learn to submit, and not submit of falling on your knees. You're not a doormat. It just means that I'm trusting you to lead me. I'm handing you, whether temporarily, this authority.
Temporarily.
Use it wisely. And it's a thing. When a man knows that he's been entrusted with this authority, many times he will perform. As you will see them do in the workspace. You see how we all vie for promotions and things. When men are given that authority in the workplace, they thrive. Not women do as well, but generally speaking, a man will find his purpose in doing a good job and being recognized for it and being affirmed and all those sorts of things. And in the absence of those, that's what I'm talking about, that dark place that a man goes to, where there is no affirmation, there is no promise of things changing, where you're literally picking up only the things that are failing. And not even to say, thank you for buying milk today, because sometimes milk
can refuse.
It can jam in this Kampala. You can look for 20k in this town and fail. And you come home, and if somebody just doesn't understand that, your spirit just leaves you. You say,
Literally. Amazing. Wow. Guys, this story has blessed my heart. Honestly, I can only say marriage is redeemable.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Where can people find you when they need support? Tell us more about Ndoa. Is there a website or something where people find you?
So we are the campus pastors for Mavuno 360. That's situated in Muyenga, on Kalunji Road. We meet at the Cham International School. That's where we fellowship on Sundays.
Okay.
The Ndoa experience is one of the experiences that Mavuno Church as a global movement offers. We're the coaches for Uganda. Ndoa is a 10-week experience, and it happens in seasons.
Okay.
So season 1 is just launched recently, and so that will run till about Easter. Then season 2 launches in September. Now, there is a mavunochurch.org website, mavunochurch.org, and on there you can sift through and pick out the Ndoa experience. Otherwise, you can just Google Mavuno Church Kampala, and there is a contact number on there. And if you call that number, reach out to our Instagram. There's so many ways to message these days. I'm trying to think which one is the quickest. Through our Instagram, through the website.
Yeah, the website.
Yeah, I won't bother reading the phone number out because...
No, it's okay. Yeah, you'll also share them with us. We'll put them in the description or
link in description, right?
Link in description.
Right? I've always wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. We have learnt a lot. Let us know in the comment section what was your take home as we celebrate love this Valentine's. Please make sure that you're ticking off those red flags, making sure that you're checking at these red flags, but also just trusting God in your season and waiting on Him.
Yeah.
But what I've learned also, covering yourself with the people that are around you.
Yeah.
You talked a little about that, just because they pour into you, and if you have the wrong people, then you may make the wrong decision. My name is Lisa Kusima. As always, I'm here to inspire.